With thousands of people and long lines early voting today, poll workers are expecting even larger crowds on Election Day. I'm Jenny Runovich. We'll tell you what to expect and how they're preparing.
And a weather impact day for Election Day because of wind and rain. I'll have the timeline in your forecast. Focus on the suspect's mental health. The new videos played in the Delphi murders trial and what happened right after the jury saw one of them.
And moving on to the trial, how the family of Herman Whitfield III are feeling after a judge refused to dismiss the charges against the officers accused of killing their son. We've got that and more. Live from Indy, you're watching 13 News.
It's 5 o'clock and we begin tonight with Decision 2024 and the preps underway right now for the big election day tomorrow. We have already seen very high turnout for early voting across the area.
And if you have not cast a ballot yet, expect plenty of company in line on Tuesday. Jenny Runovich shows us how Marion County election workers are getting ready.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Decision 2024 now down to the wire downtown.
In Marion County, the voters, they got opinions.
And they're coming in droves to voice them. Check out the final line for early voting.
2 hours so far.
Snaked around the city-county building.
It's a long wait.
Part of a trend of high turnout.
More than 132,000 voters have cast their ballot in person, and we mailed out more than 30,000 absentee by mail ballots.
But with almost 650,000 registered voters, the Marion County Clerk says Election Day itself will be very busy too. 186 vote centers are now at the ready, machines in place, and an earlier poll worker shortage solved.
We needed thousands, and we got thousands.
Thanks in part to a pay raise for workers approved last month. 186 election inspectors will deliver materials pre-dawn Tuesday, then tackle any problems at the polls. Amy's been doing it 40 years.
And I am ready. I'm geared up.
So is Marion County's Election Service Center, the democracy hub that voters don't see. This is where mechanics got training to fix voting machines, where ballots get stored until Election Day, where the prep work happens. Now staff are sorting through each ballot cast early.
It gets reviewed by our team, it gets audited, and it gets recorded into the statewide voter registration database.
And this is where the ballots are locked up each night. Tens of thousands of absentee and early votes that'll be opened and counted starting Tuesday morning. It's a transparent process with bipartisan teams ensuring accuracy. Depending on ballot totals, results could take a while.
What that means for us on Election Day is a lot of work here to count absentee ballots, so we're expecting that to take potentially more than one day.
There's a possibility we could just do a 24-hour shift where we won't stop until it's done.
But high turnout is a good problem to have. Lots of Hoosiers making themselves heard. In Indianapolis, Jenny Runovich, 13 News.
And you should remember Election Day hours are from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you're voting tomorrow, don't forget your ID.
Also in Marion County, you can cast your ballot at any of the 186 voting centers that will be open and waiting for you. We have a link where you can check out all those locations and addresses right now at WTHR.com. Well, tonight, the early voting is done. It all ended in Indiana at noon today. And some voters shared some frustrations with 13 News, saying that they tried to vote early, but they couldn't.
When they went to cast their ballot, they learned they were not registered. Pike Township trustee Annette Johnson is a poll watcher. She tells 13 News that dozens of voters say they registered before the deadline at the BMV, but they were told at early voting they are not registered.
What is the breakdown? Because clearly there is a breakdown that's happening, because it's just not a coincidence.
13 News reached out to the BMV. A spokesperson says their office has not received reports of application issues.
They explained that once a voter registration goes through the BMV, then it is in the hands of the Indiana Election Division. So we wanted to get answers, so we also reached out to them, and at this hour are still waiting for a response. To the National Election Decision 2024, the final national NBC News poll of the 2024 presidential campaign finds that the race right now is still neck and neck.
And the poll shows Vice President Harris getting 49% of the vote from registered voters, with former President Trump getting the same. The other 2% are undecided.
We'll show you where the campaign trail took both candidates today as our coverage continues ahead here at 5:15.
And we've got the answers to your questions as we close in closer to Election Day. So just check out WTHR.com/elections. That's where you're going to find the results as they start to come in tomorrow night. Angela?
Felicia, weather impact day for Election Day. When? Especially tomorrow afternoon and early evening. The impact, wind gusts that may exceed 35 miles per hour with a line of heavier rain afternoon and evening hours. What you need to know, few power outages possible, and if you are voting later in the day, you could be standing in rain, so make sure you take the rain gear. We do have rain now. It's been raining off and on most of the day. Some of the heaviest across the western part of the state, from Crawfordsville south to just east of Greencastle into Terre Haute and Brazil. Let's go up to the north and east. We've got some rain in Marion and Gas City, Elwood, in between Elwood and Tipton as well. Future Track 13 shows the showers lingering for the next couple of hours. We get a few early morning showers ahead of that main line of rain and wind tomorrow. I'll continue the timeline in a few minutes.
Well, the defense is focusing on the mental health of Delphi murder suspect as they try to convince the jury he did not mean it when he confessed multiple times behind bars to killing Abby Williams and Libby German.
Today, the jury saw more videos of the suspect in his prison cell, and our senior investigative reporter Bob Siegel was there in the courtroom as those videos led to a very heated exchange.
He joins us live tonight from Delphi. Bob, can you tell us what you learned from it?
Felicia and Ann, we are inside right now, directly across the street from the Carroll County Courthouse because it's been raining here in Delphi all day. Inside the courtroom, some of the most important testimony today of this entire trial. A neuropsychologist took the stand to say Richard Allen was mentally ill at the time he confessed to killing Abby and Libby. Dr. Polly Westcott told jurors that she met with Allen last year inside his prison cell, inside the prison, to conduct a detailed series of psychological exams on him. Based on those exams and reviewing countless videos and phone calls and prison reports and medical reports and handwriting samples, Dr. Westcott wrote a 127-page report about Allen's mental state. And here are her conclusions. She said, Richard Allen has a very long history of mental health disorders. The doctor called him a fragile egg when he arrived at the Westville Correctional Facility. She said Allen was not faking or exaggerating his mental health issues while incarcerated. And he showed a clear decline in mental and physical health within 4 months, she said, of arriving at the prison. Dr. Westcott said Allen showed a significant slowing of his thinking around the time of his confessions. Based on her analysis, Allen suffered from major depressive disorder around the time of his confessions, and that disorder, combined with high levels of stress, caused him to suffer psychosis during the time period when he made his incriminating statements. That certainly helps counter the most damaging evidence against Allen so far, the recorded phone calls the jury's already heard in which Allen confessed to the murders to both his wife and to his mother. Also today, to support the testimony from Dr. Westcott, jurors got to see 2 videos that show Richard Allen inside his prison cell. Only jurors could see the videos. Those of us sitting in the gallery could not. But we were told by a witness that the video showed Allen eating his own feces and banging his head against the wall of his cell. Some jurors clearly found the videos difficult to watch, wincing and repeatedly looking away from the video screen. Again, an effort by the defense to try to convince the jury that Richard Allen's mental health was so deteriorated in prison that it drove him to make false confessions. With the jury present, prosecutor Nick McLeland got into a heated exchange with the defense team. He accused the defense of showing only the very worst images of Allen in prison to get sympathy from the jury and to turn Richard Allen into the victim. The defense countered that by saying they showed the video of Allen inside his prison cell to show the jury the truth. Now, this afternoon, several more witnesses. We got to hear from Richard Allen's sister and his daughter. And his daughter, at one point, got very teary-eyed. We're going to tell you about their testimony coming up at 6. Live in Delphi, Bob Siegel, 13 News.
Bob, thank you. And you can also catch up with Bob and our legal expert, Katie Jackson-Lindsay, during our Delphi debrief.
It's at 10 o'clock tonight on WTHR+. You can find it on Apple TV, Roku, as well as Fire Stick. And 2 IMPD officers will go on trial early next month on the charges in the death of Herman Whitfield III. Today, a judge denied a motion to dismiss the criminal charges brought by a grand jury against them.
Our Rich Nye was with the Whitfield family this morning, waiting outside the courtroom as that ruling was handed down.
Monday's hearing was closed to the public and to the Whitfield family because the arguments were about grand jury testimony that led to the officers' indictments and at this point is still confidential.
Officers Steven Sanchez and Adam Ahmad face charges of involuntary manslaughter, reckless homicide, and battery. The parents of Herman Whitfield III, along with their attorneys and other supporters, waited outside the courtroom.
We're disappointed in not being there and not being able to be hear what the defendant's arguments are in their motion to dismiss. But we understand the process and we're patient.
Body cam video shows officers fired a taser twice on Herman Whitfield III, then held him face down in handcuffs on the floor of his home on April 25, 2022. His parents called for mental health assistance. Their son died in police custody. On Monday, the judge denied the motion to dismiss the charges. So the case goes to trial December 2nd.
I just hope justice prevails in this situation, because first of all, these officers are citizens before they're officers, so they should be held accountable.
Accountability for these officers who acted wrongly. There's no question about that in my mind.
The Whitfield family is also suing the officers and the city. The civil case is on hold until the criminal case is decided. In Indianapolis, Rich Nye, 13 News.
The attorney for the officers tells 13 News the judge has ruled out criminal use of the taser in that trial. The officers will only be tried for restraining Whitfield on the floor.